Hello and welcome, everybody. For those of you who have not yet been able to watch our Point of Influence interviews, my name is Kendra Johnson. I'm the host of the Point of Influence interviews and director of the Venn Group corporate training and development programs. I am extremely excited to be joined today by none other than the Gregory Jerome, who is the principal of Gregory Jerome Image Consulting. And you are in for quite a treat because he takes such a unique, refreshing approach to image consulting, to personal branding. And I'm thrilled to have him here to share his expertise about personal branding, about feeling good, looking good, and what that can do for you and the many, many benefits it has internally and externally. So Gregory, thank you so much for joining me today. I want to pass it over to you to give our viewers a little bit of insight into who you are, your background, what got you into this, and then I have some quite pointed things I'd like to ask you.
Awesome.
That'll be helpful for our listeners here.
Awesome. So first of all, thank you for this opportunity. I greatly appreciate this. It's an honor to be here, to be interviewed by you. So thank you. Without further ado, my name is Gregory Jerome. As you stated, I'm the principal of Gregory Jerome Image Consulting. I'm a motivated, ambitious, enthusiastic creator, just by nature, who believes in human empowerment, no matter what area that is. Like, it's always about educating and informing individuals and enlightening individuals. So with that being said, I have over 20 years experience in the luxury retail space, as well as mental and behavioral health industry. So I've been a mentor, counselor, a job coach, things of that nature with nonprofit organizations, then kind of like transpired into me being a sartorial brand specialist, as I call myself these days. Yeah. And what that is basically I provide organizations and individuals insight on the psychological benefits of creating an authentic sartorial brand image so that they can feel comfortable and confident. And so with that being said, that also helps organizations cultivate a new work culture, dealing with employee retention, being able to have more active engagement, and increasing the vitality of the company as well.
Amazing. Okay, first of all, what a backstory there. And you hit on all of the key points. And, the first time we ever spoke, I think my jaw hit the floor the entire time, because you tied in that psychological aspect and brought up things that I never would have thought of, right? We get dressed in the morning, we throw clothes on, we think they fit, we think they don't. We go out and shop and we buy things based on what, right? Like, what is that driving, motivating factor? And then when we enter the workplace, how are we showing up for ourselves? How are we being great ambassadors for our employer, or maybe as a team, right? Maybe we are the employers. How are we setting that standard and expectation? So on that same vein and obviously theme, because that is how you operate and the lens you see this through, why is personal branding, specifically like how we feel when we put our clothes on, so important professionally, but also for us personally?
Great question. When it comes to branding from a sartorial point of view, personal or professional, the key things is, one is creative expression, being able to express yourself creatively and authentically.
Yeah.
That means tapping into who you are, what you believe in, morals and standards, values. And those can be expressed from the exterior when you go out. So the interior also has to add or complement what the exterior is, dealing with the quality of who you are, what kind of quality person you are. I would also say it's an opportunity to harness uniqueness at this point, because therefore you can use certain subtleties or details to help express who you are as an individual and as a brand. And that's dealing with your employees as well. So being able to have those three things once again, is creative expression,
Mhm.
uniqueness, and authenticity. Once we foster those things or cultivate those within us, we become better individuals in the sense of being more confident in who we are, comfortable with who we are, and being able to provide these messages, nonverbal messages of who we are.
Right, right, exactly. I mean, 80% of all of our communication is nonverbal. So it is important what we're showing up and how we're presenting ourselves. And I love that you brought up that it's not just how we're physically presenting ourselves, but that confidence piece. When we're wearing something that we feel great in, you show up differently because you're comfortable.
Right.
And there are so many times I can speak personally where I've put something on and said, I don't feel comfortable. And the whole time you're kind of sitting there fidgeting. And that, what message does that provide to the person that you're meeting with? If you're fidgety, there's so many different ways that can be perceived. So it's a really interesting lens to view that through. And so as, an image consultant that goes in, you're working with folks on making them feel more comfortable, but first of all, getting them into the clothes that makes them feel comfortable. So from what you've noticed, what's kind of the biggest mistake or the thing that's most overlooked when people are going in thinking about their own image and their own brand?
It's ironic that you talk about fidgeting with clothes.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I realize is ill-fitting clothes is the number one thing that stands out. Pants are too big, too long.
Right.
Blouses, shirts, too big, too long.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't fit. So the proper fitting clothes is the most important aspect of creating that sartorial brand image.
Right.
You could spend $2,500 on a suit.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not fit properly, it could look like it cost you $12.
Yeah.
You can go and invest in a suit that costs $200 and then have alterations done. That's another $45. And you can come out looking like $1 million. So the proper fit is the most important aspect of creating a brand image from the sartorial standpoint.
Okay. Proper fit. And I like that you brought in the tailoring because it's hard off the shelf, off the rack.
Off the rack is if you are not in the 9 percentile of the prototypes of the body types that they create these stencils out of, it's going to be a challenge. So one of the things that I encourage all my clients to do is have a tailor on speed dial. Because let's think about it, situational. I need to go to a dinner or an event, and I just bought this dress or suit, and I need this to fit properly because I want to present myself so well, and I only have 24 or 48 hours to get something that fits.
Yeah.
Well, it's nothing like having a tailor on the speed dial and calling up and say, hey, I have a situation. Can you help me? So wardrobe malfunctions, it's a real deal. But being able to have that access to a tailor is important. It's just like having an attorney, it's like having a doctor. Like a tailor should be there.
Yeah. Like State Farm, right? Isn't that what they say? Like State Farm is there. Isn't that their tagline? Yeah, absolutely. So everybody should add that to their Rolodex, their speed dial. And then, with that, when you find something that does fit well, or you find a shirt or a dress or a blouse, do you recommend that you buy it in every single color?
Only if those colors are complementary to your undertones. So, right?
Yeah.
So people tend to forget that part. It's like, oh, I love this shirt. They come in like 25 different colors. I want all 25 of them, but you put them on and then sometimes it'll wash you out. You'll blend in, or it just doesn't complement you. It's too bright. Like, have to understand the hues and selections. So all of that takes place. But then also, how do you create outfits out of those pieces. Does it make sense to purchase all 25?
Right.
Is it complementary to what's in your closet? So you have to think about that too.
Great. Yeah. Yeah. Excellent points, right? I mean, neon yellow doesn't really go with everything, I suppose. So making sure that you find what fits and what works. So you've listed a couple of errors that people make, and I am guilty of a lot of them. So the first is proper fitting clothes, getting a tailor. The second is making sure that, the hues match your skin tone. And then the third I like that you brought up is what's already in your closet, because a lot of times we think maybe we get tired of our clothes. Maybe I'm also projecting and saying this only of how I feel, but seasonally, I feel like everybody does do a closet refresh and we think, I've worn all of these, I don't like them, nothing works. But how can you kind of revive that with what you said, right? Looking at what you already have, how can you match, right? You don't necessarily need to do a complete overhaul to get a new refreshed look, right?
Correct. So the way that in like my clients, when it comes to current wardrobes, we're going to kind of shift into a more holistic approach at this point.
Okay.
So what clothes actually resonate with you? What clothes actually bring you joy? What makes you happy when you wear it? Like those are things we have to identify. And then how do we use other pieces to complement those pieces to actually create a new life and look out of it? Because you can wear a suit, a navy blue suit, 265 different ways. And it's all dealing with shirt tie combo, pocket square, accessories, different ways that you can dress that navy blue suit. So being able to actually identify what resonates from an internal standpoint of like everything is energy in a sense, right? So the thing about it is what energizes you, what creates that enthusiasm when you put it on,
Right.
what creates that attitude of, oh, I'm accomplished this today, or I'll look, amazing today. And this is the vibrations is just there. So understanding that concept is highly valuable of what resonates with you when you put things on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's nothing like putting on a good outfit, one that you feel like a rock star in, and going through the day with, your own theme song playing in your head. It's a pretty special thing. And most people, I feel like, they don't know where to start, right? They don't know how to start. And a lot of, from what I've heard about, individuals going shopping and folks saying, oh, I need a new closet, is that they go in and they say, I like this. I think this looks nice. I'm going to put it on my body, or I'm going to buy this. But they don't have that background piece that you were just talking about, right? As part of your process, you walk them through, how do you feel, that internal reflection, which is so, so important. So if you wouldn't mind, I mean, you've introduced us to a little bit of your process there. If you wouldn't mind walking me through a little bit more of that. If no major secrets need to be given away. Obviously it's, your process, but you get people to reflect, and then do you take them shopping? Can you do it virtually? Right? I know that we're international. A lot of people are doing things virtually. So is that something that you offer? Is that virtual consultation as well?
Absolutely. Virtual consultation, in person, obviously. And that process really, it starts with a consultation, and which is an hour. And then within that, prior, I supply a questionnaire for people to fill out. And so this questionnaire helps them really identify their pain points, identify their cultural background of who they are, how people will identify them, how do they perceive themselves, where do they want to go to, what is the future, what is the inspiration. So we take a deeper dive into really who they are first.
Right.
And what messages would they like to give to the world? And how would they like to even perceive themselves when they wake up in the morning before they walk out the door? So that process, it's almost like a two-pronged process, consultation, questionnaire, and then we go from there. And that kind of helps me navigate what I call is co-creation, because it takes two of us in order to create this. It's not me on the other side saying, well, you need X, Y, and Z. You need yellow, pink, and gray.
Yeah.
Right. So it's really kind of diving into sustainability beliefs. How do you feel about color? What do you feel about different fabrics? What fabrics feel great on you? Which one doesn't? So being able to kind of navigate that space and really identify the vision of who they are,
Right.
even from a mental space of visualization. So tapping into what do they actually see of themselves currently and in the future? What do
Yeah.
you want to look like? How do you want to walk? How do you want to talk? Because all of these play a factor into what we put on our body.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Spot on. And you know, we could say what's influencing us and then how we influence others based on those things. And there are, you know,
Correct.
you and I have spoken about this in great detail, that there are so many influences when it comes to what we put on our bodies and how we show up that we're not even cognizant of. That, you know, you've talked about background, about cultural aspects and elements, right? All of these things, even, you know, a perfect example, I had to shop for a dress for a wedding, and my partner came with me, and he's the more fashionable one of the two, if I'm being honest. But every dress I put on, he would pick something with frills, and every dress I put on, he said I would come out and go, I don't like this, and make a face like that. And he's like, even the way you hunched your body was weird. But when I put that dress on, and I remember being a little girl and I wanted to wear overalls and just saying, like, I don't like frills. And my parents always put me in frilly dresses. And so clearly that translated to now being in a third decade of my life and going back. Do I like frills? Some of them were beautiful and I would have worn them, but my internal story was, I don't like frills. And based on, you know, what you and I have talked about, I had to check myself and think, like, what would Gregory say about this? Well, he'd probably tell me to tell the little girl in me to keep it quiet and think about what I'm actually doing. So it was the pieces and the information that you provide is so important for the long term. You're setting people up for, for a life of proper branding and styling moving forward, not just for this season. Here's what you're going to wear. Catch you in the spring, which is huge. No, I don't know anybody else that approaches it the way you do, to be perfectly honest.
It's an interesting approach, and it took me a while to really understand this approach and really how it worked. To your point, psychologically, we do have these barriers and challenges that reside in the world of childhood. Something somebody said to you, an example for me is, I didn't ever wear cufflinks because when I was a teenager, I went to church with my mom, and a pastor looked at me and he seen I had cufflinks on. He was like, "You should never wear cufflinks." And I'm like, wait a minute, what is this? Not sure. So I never wore cufflinks from that point on. But then it was a point in my life I was like, you know what? I'm wearing cufflinks because I like these.
Yeah.
And I started getting compliments on the cufflinks that I selected. So I was more cognizant of the type of cufflinks that I would purchase. Me, I'm all about symbolism. So that's a way that I communicate who I am and what I believe in. Another situation that really helped me understand the power of grooming and proper fitting and presentation is, there was a point in time in my life I was going through a transformational period. I was homeless, and typically, from a stereotype, a homeless person wouldn't have access to many things because of the way that they look. So for me, I was always a person who took pride in the way that I presented myself, because it provided me with confidence, reassurance for who I am, and it just was just an opportunity to have conversations with people, because people are more welcoming when you look great. So I seen the difference of how people treated me when I would dress in a more studious way versus the homeless person who did not. and I identified that was an opportunity to access new opportunities, opportunity to have a conversation that also lead to other opportunities of success. So for me personally, my personal story is really based off the way I presented myself to elevate me to a different echelon in life.
Yeah.
And so I foster it now and I understand the power of it. And I would like to continue to share that same knowledge and wisdom to individuals so they can overcome certain situations in their life, that they can use these tools to create that confidence to overcome any challenge that they face, no matter if it's personal or professional.
Yeah. Incredible. Incredible. And thank you for sharing your story as well. I mean, I know that to look at that trajectory and how you harness that power and where it's got you to today is truly inspiring, and it's amazing. It's incredible. So I just want to say kudos to you. And I've told you this, I'm very proud of you and how far you've come, and your journey is really amazing, and that you're giving back to, and that you are providing people with the opportunity to advance themselves at any level, no matter where they are. So I guess my question for you is, and anybody watching this, as individuals, maybe we don't have the means to go out and, buy new clothes right now, or maybe we want to start, but we don't know where to start. What are a couple of very, very small key tips that you could give our folks listening, so that they can start to even think about how they're enhancing their personal brand?
The first thing when it comes to purchasing garments,
Mm-hmm.
even if I thrift shop, still today, you can find some great clothes.
Yeah.
And once again, I have a tailor. So if there's any alterations that need to be done, I take them to my tailor. And that's more reasonable than going out and buying the expensive clothes if you're not able to afford them currently.
Right.
That would be the first place that I would go, dealing with the financial space. When it comes to being able to create your own personal image,
Mm-hmm.
at this point, first of all, you need to identify what your body type is. There's 6 different body types for women and 5 different body types for men.
Yeah.
And different clothes fit differently for those body types.
Right.
So understanding body type is going to be the second thing I would say. Understanding that. And then colors, utilizing colors, complementary colors, being able to understand the artistic, creative side of things. That goes into what is inspiration. You can use, of course, fashion magazines. You can use travel magazines. You can use home decor magazines. You can look at fellow peers. You can look at celebrities. So these are different little tricks that you can use to gather information. I tell you something that I done that was creative. There was a art piece. It was a mixed media art piece of a bicycle that was put together by electronics of a cable cord, a plug-in, and then these little miniature lights. And they painted the bike different colors in its seats. So what I ended up doing was I took the colors from that painting and created an outfit out of it for a person using those same colors.
Amazing. Some inspiration is everywhere, right?
It's everywhere.
Yeah. We just have to open our eyes to it. That's
the key thing. You have to be open-minded to cultivating a new representation of yourself as an individual, but also as a company. What does that look like? What is this representation?
Yeah.
How do you represent you, your personal life, your personal brand, what you believe in? But then how is your employees representing that same brand that you believe in, the quality you believe in, the visual aspect of your brand? When people see your employees, what do they see?
Yeah.
And that's what we have to question, because those are representatives of the company.
Yeah.
And so for me, this goes into more of a wellness check, in my opinion.
Yeah.
This helps with so much on that level that people don't really think about this being something that's valuable to their organization. But I've just seen from my clients and their reaction to their success after working with me. Some individuals seeing 35% increase in sales, others seeing 15% in productivity. So like it's a thing. It's a thing.
Yeah, I 100% believe it. 100. I've seen it in my own, and because we all have, we are all judging and to some degree, right? We're open-minded, but we all have first impressions, I should say, not judgments, but first impressions of people. And you segued perfectly into my next question, because we covered off a lot about individual branding. And so folks can, take the ownership of doing that one-on-one with you. But the corporate piece is really, really fascinating, because it's first of all, it's quite sensitive, right? In terms of getting everybody on the same page. And as a business owner or as a founder, as a CEO, making sure that you're communicating that vision, those values outwards to your employees, to your staff, so that they're aware of how they should be showing up, how they can act as ambassadors. And personal branding is absolutely one of those ways and those means. So when you go in and you work with corporations, I know you've run some pretty flippin' stellar workshops. What does that process look like? Because you are dealing with so many different people with, so many things going on up here that we don't know about. So what's that process like?
So when working with organizations, I go in to work with anyone from entry level to the executives, and they're all on the same platform. So now you have this active engagement as a whole, which now translate my company cares about me because they're providing this offering that's going to empower me as an individual. And that's the most important thing at this point, is that we as business owners need to invest into the asset of the company, the most important asset of the company, which is the team members.
Yeah.
And providing them with this kind of information that enlightens them on ways they can become better as individuals. Because even though we work as a team, we still have to come as an individual to the table in order to work properly. So how does that work when you bring your team together? What is the team dynamics? Is this uniform with the presentation with everybody? Does everybody look what I like to call on point? When, let's say we're doing inventory check on people, and it's like, everybody looks fascinating. Here's an example. You ever seen those like photos of, and not to pick on attorneys, but in a sense, when you see the attorney photos and they're all dressed in front of like the firm and everybody's wearing, they're exactly.
Yeah.
Some people look like they don't really belong in the firm because of the style is not uniform or consistent. And those are the things that should be important to organizations. So when I go in and work with these organizations, is really identifying what are the core values of the company, first of all.
Yeah.
And what are the expectations? So we have to be able to identify what the company is about. What message do they want to give to the public? Because that's who they're going to be in front of. But not only that, how are you discovering and cultivating this new work environment with your employees? So being able to discover those things in the sense of presentation, productivity, sales, vitality, what the engagement, active engagement should be first and foremost, is how are we doing that? What does that look like for your team?
Yeah, absolutely. The fact that you touched on, we all have to show up as individuals first. And, collectively, you co-create that. And that's the beautiful thing, again, about the process and how you work with corporations. is because you look at that individual piece, and it's not just the decision makers or stakeholders saying, we want you to look this way, we want you to do this. For example, in high school, I remember a couple of us girls worked at a restaurant, and one restaurant that was neighboring to us in particular, women were getting sent home if their skirts weren't short enough. And that's, first of all, huge violation of human rights. And this was many years ago, before we actually were able to call people out on that. However, skirts weren't short enough. So not only does that make, when somebody's going home, you've lost somebody off the floor, but nobody felt comfortable working in what they were wearing. And it was all an optics thing, but there was a way to create the same kind of branding or optics with having the employees feel good, feel comfortable and confident. And it just wasn't, anytime it was tried to be, communicated from the employees to the owners, it wasn't really resonating. So to have a third party come in as well and just bridge that gap and say, here's the look we're going for, here's what makes our employees feel comfortable and confident, here's a happy middle ground so that everybody's winning and everybody is getting what they want, I think is a beautiful thing, rather than having it dictated by one side or the other. It's a beautiful lesson in collaboration.
Absolutely. Even in times right now, people are going back to the office, but they're not sure what to wear. And the employer is not sure what to say to that person to get them to kind of like align with the morals and values and standards. So there's a disconnect because the communication between the two, they're not sure how to address it. I mean, it's just like if you had a friend, well, hopefully your friend, you could have a conversation, but some people are very hesitant about telling their friends, you need to upgrade your style, or telling your parents or whoever it may be. It's always a challenge to come from a space and say, you know what, have you ever thought about this? Maybe you should polish yourself up. You could look more vibrant. You could feel more happy. Like you could be more productive. Like it's like re-energize yourself. And so those are the things that I believe organizations should definitely tap into. Is how do they connect and communicate with their staff members?
Absolutely. And if they're not, it leads to friction. Like you said, that misalignment, difficult conversations come in, and it's easier to have a positive conversation about here's what our expectations are versus, hey, we didn't set those expectations and you're not meeting the expectations that we didn't set. So now we need to reverse and do a little course correction. So which one's easier, right? Setting expectations off the hop. And then also if somebody strays from that, it makes that conversation easier because it's been communicated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's so currently I work with Louis Vuitton. So Louis Vuitton, when they have onboarding, they have a piece in onboarding that's called Stage Ready. And Stage Ready is how you should look before you go onto the sales floor and interact with clients.
Right.
And so they give you photos of what hair should look like, what makeup should look like, what shoes should look like, what the pants, what dresses, what skirts, like everything has an expectation. So you can visually see what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. And being able to have that at the forefront when during onboarding, or even having a tutorial or some type of a session based around company expectations from the tutorial branding space is vital at this point in time.
Yes, 100%, 100%, just to have that. And then like, I really want to emphasize that co-creation and collaboration, because yes, you can set those, and where you come in is that the employees then also have a voice to say, great, however, this doesn't work, or this isn't practical, or this isn't whatever. And then you can meet in the middle. So it's not just employees feeling like they're constantly being told what to do, right? So I love that again, I really want to emphasize that collaborative piece of your workshops when you're able to go in and have these conversations that most people don't know how to approach, don't know how to lead. So that's phenomenal. And I think it is really helpful for employers to give employees, and also for employers to think about these things. It's something that, you think about employee engagement from a conversation, a skills building perspective. Well, personal branding is very much a skill.
It
And
is.
it's something that, it increases that confidence, as you said, and helps us be more effective communicators. We're having all of these conversations. So I think it's invaluable what you're doing, how you're approaching it, and the way that you're working with both corporations and individual folks. I think that's fantastic. So with that being said, how can people get in touch with you? Where do they find you? And we'll have all of your information at the bottom of the screen too. But, for those that are just listening and absorbing it all through auditory means, how can they get a hold of you?
People can get in contact with me on the platform of LinkedIn
Okay.
under Gregory Jerome. That's GregoryJerome. Then they can also find me on my website, which is thegregoryjerome.com. That's TheGregoryJerome.com. And then also I'm on social media platforms under Gregory Jerome as well. That's LinkedIn and Facebook.
Perfect.
Yep. If you feel like you want to call in, phone number is 267-908-3363.
Perfect. Excellent. That was a great radio voice there. It sounded like if you want to win a prize.
That was, yeah, right. That was it. That was my commercial.
Yes, it was. Well, we'll save that segment and just pop it right onto the air. It's perfect. Well, I will definitely make sure that your information is readily available. If anybody has any questions, comments, they can reach out to either yourself or to me, and I will connect you directly. But ultimately, for anybody listening, you can't go wrong. It's so important to think about these things, even just take the time to reflect on why we make the decisions that we do, and then how you're showing up in the world, what's influencing you, and how you go out and you're influencing other people based on that. So Mr. Gregory Jerome, the Gregory Jerome, I just want to thank you again so much for providing all of this information, all of your insight. It is truly always an honor to listen and to absorb what you have to say. And I will certainly be going through my closet later today to see, what I can revive a little bit.
There it is. Perfect season. Thank you. It's been an honor to be here.
Well, I look forward to our next conversation, and thank you again.